What a crazy, amazing weekend. So I just got back from the Peoria Regional Championship. I mean, guys, there was like 2,500, more than that probably, players. So there was 1,700 masters competing in the tournament. Then you had seniors, you had juniors, you had other divisions like VGC and Pokemon Go. It was absolutely incredible. If you've never been to a Pokemon tournament before, I don't know if the TCG is your game or if VGC or if Pokemon Go is your game, but whatever the case, I highly recommend, and I've preached this a million times, I highly recommend getting out to a local league and just hanging out with like-minded individuals. It is so much fun. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed the past several days, despite the fact I don't know what my problem is. So right here, I decided to remove part of my finger fighting against some shelving. I don't know what it is about my desire to become a four-fingered fanny, but this was, oh my goodness, it is so frustrating. So, but yes, besides that, I highly recommend checking out Pokemon events. It's so much fun, you guys. I promise it'll change your life if you've never even given a thought of playing the game competitively or learning the game competitively. Just take a chance. Just give it a thought. I guarantee you won't regret it. With that being said, it is hard to believe that we are 2 years removed, so 2 years and 2 days removed from the release of Celebrations. Pokemon's 25th anniversary set was released on October 8th of 2021, and here we are on October 10th when I'm recording this of 2023. 2 years. I want to ask you where you were in the hobby 2 years ago. Were you in the hobby? Did you get in after Celebrations? Is Celebrations what brought you in? Because Celebrations came out during a very interesting time for the Pokemon TCG. The pandemic was kind of on the back end, and people were still going nuts regarding Pokemon cards. Celebrations was kind of the end of like really the scalping generation, the issues we had where people would buy out all the stock at Target, Walmart, wherever they could find it, and then sell it for double, triple MSRP online. And that happened with Celebrations, especially for pre-order pricing. However, Pokemon did such a great job of printing to demand when it comes to Celebrations that there was plenty of stock out there. A lot of people did struggle at first, but I remember people posting pictures on Reddit, on Twitter, on Instagram, all over the place of just shelves, pogs of Celebrations product that was basically wheeled into Target, so that way they had plenty of stock available for Pokemon collectors, for fans to be able to purchase Celebrations. And it was a lot of fun to open. It was a much smaller set than what we're used to. Pull rates were absolutely fantastic, and a lot of people really enjoyed opening it because it was trips down memory lane. And the great thing about Celebrations that Pokemon did is they printed important cards based off of really every generation, every year almost, that a Pokemon fan could have entered the hobby. So that way you had all these different memories that were created when you were opening up Pokemon cards. It was really just a trip down memory lane, brought a lot of nostalgia back to people. And now here we are with the release of Scarlet and Violet 151, kind of doing the same thing for a lot of people, really just a throwback to Gen 1, but a lot of people kind of coming back into the hobby, really enjoying opening Scarlet and Violet 151. But Celebration still to this day is just a ton of fun to open, because even though the cards aren't valued that high, really just opening up a pack is just a lot of fun to see something that you might pull that might jog a memory of some sorts. It's really just kind of a nice soothing exercise and things like that. But we're going to look at the market for Pokemon Celebrations because a lot of it is very flat, especially over the past year. And if you remember, for a long time, content creators were pushing and pumping a lot of different products that you wanted to put in a closet. Lock away in your closet, lock away in your storage shed for 5-10 years, and it's going to explode in the price. And Celebrations was definitely one of those products. So I want you guys to think, just use your imagination a little bit about how many people have boxes and cases of Celebrations that are really just kind of stored away for future days down the road. And really, I mean, they are maturing and they are going to continue to mature. I don't want anybody to think that they're not going to go up in price, because I do think that they will, but I don't think that they're increasing at the level that a lot of people thought they were promised. And I think that's the problem with a lot of content creation nowadays. And there are times where I am to blame for that as well, where it's kind of the FOMO is instilled because people aren't like pumping the brakes and like, hey, just so you know, this will go up in price, but it's going to be really slow. It's not going to blow up in price. You know, if you're a seal collector, it's not going to blow up in price overnight. It's going to be really, really slow. So if you don't want to be patient and you don't want to wait to open up your product that you found for MSRP or less than MSRP, then don't be patient. Like, just open it, enjoy the game, enjoy the hobby, because there's other things that you can put money in, that you can utilize for investments. And that's why I say that there's places in Pokemon for everybody. Like, if you're an investor, if you're a seal collector, if you're a competitive player, there's a spot here for you. But just be smart about it. You know, don't take advice from people who may not know exactly what they're talking about. It makes a lot of people frustrated, and that's the upsetting thing. I don't know why I got on that rant. That was like that was a little bit over the top. So we're gonna flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about involving Celebrations. So we're gonna start out with the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection, which we're actually giving away as part of our current giveaway. So we're giving away the last 4 Ultra Premium collections that were available for order. So we've got the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection, the Charizard, the Scarlet and Violet 151, and then the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection, which I completely even forgot about. If you want to enter to win that, go back to the video I posted last week, Friday, Thursday, somewhere around there. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Leave a like and a comment on that video. Come back this Friday to see if you are a winner. But the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection really started going up in price again a little bit more after those metal cards started getting graded again from CGC, from PSA. They kind of revamped how they were grading those things. There was a lot of issues with the metal cards that involved chipping and things like that. But now that CGC PSA kind of figured out how that they were able to slab those cards without damaging them. A lot of people started paying a little bit more attention to the Ultra Premium Collection. And that's why you have a pretty decent growth chart over the past 7-8 months or so. You can see in January of 2023, this one did drop down to $340.04. And you might say, Fanny, that's still a lot of money. That's almost 3 times MSRP. And you are correct. But when you look at some of the cards inside, once they get graded into a PSA 10 or a CGC 10 or whatever the case may be, those Charizards, that Pikachu really starts blowing up in price. So I think that's part of the reason that we saw this giant boom. Also, supply and demand is just very low for this product. Unlike a lot of the other Celebrations product, the Ultra Premium Collection was basically premium. It was very difficult to get your hands. You had a lot of people kind of lining up, buying out Barnes & Noble and all these other places so that way they could hold on to these. And because of that, a lot of people weren't able to find them, and they didn't do a whole lot of additional waves of the Ultra Premium Collection like they did with the ETB, with the Zacian products, with the Charizard boxes. Like, they did a lot of waves where distribution still has some of those, and you're still able to go into Walmart and find some of those. The Ultra Premium Collection, not so lucky. But really, after January of 2023, it started exploding in price. You can see some very significant gains from January of 2023 up until March of 2023, where it almost hit that $400 mark before dropping back down a little bit. And then in June, it kind of leveled off a little bit. It jumped over $400, hit that 407.37 one-year high. But now, over the past 5 months or so, it's been very, very flat, sitting at 403.44 currently, and not really trending in any direction. And that's kind of the story with a lot of these cards, either trending downwards, or sealed products, either trending downward or very, very flat, which is very interesting to look at, involving a set that had as much hype as Celebrations. Here's the Elite Trainer box, the Pokemon exclusive Elite Trainer box. This one really started the whole exclusive Elite Trainer boxes, and nowadays it's very difficult to get your hands on an exclusive Elite Trainer box if you don't buy them immediately once they're dropped on the Pokemon Center website. Sets like Obsidian Flames, for example, which is not by any means a popular set. They can't keep those in stock on the Pokemon Center website. They can't keep the Scarlet and Violet 151 in stock, and really a lot of people getting frustrated because you look at these prices, and this is a $60 box that's jumped up to double MSRP because it just wasn't available enough for order. In January of 2023, this one also hit a one-year low. It was down to 104.21, so not huge gains by any means. You're looking at about 10% of a difference between its one-year high and its one-year low, but that one-year high was hit in March of 2023 before it dropped all the way back down to 108. Then it started going back up a little bit again, jumped up to $121.88, that one-year high, and then came back down to the point right now where it's sitting at 111.70. So depending on what time and where and when you bought the Celebrations exclusive Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box, really is indicative of how your Elite Trainer box is performing. Here's the mini tin display. Mini tin displays are really, really cool. They're not something that you can really buy at big box stores, so you have to order them from really a local game store or something like that. This the Celebrations one was down to $110.68 in January of 2023, and then exploded in price over the course of about a month, where it jumped up close to 20% in March of 2023. You can see it hit that one-year high of of 138.90, but now it's been slowly going backwards. So again, over the past 5 months, relatively flat, but really trending in a downward direction, sitting at 128.38 currently and continuing to head south. Here's the normal Elite Trainer box. This one saw some very good growth pattern from October of 2022 up until March of 2023. You can see consistently performing well over that 5 or 6 month stretch of time. In October of 2022, it was sitting at its 1-year low of $73.33. It gained about 20% then over the next 5 months, but now it's lost about 10% back from that. So doing extremely well up until March of 2023, and then started going in the backwards direction where it's sitting at $80.17 currently, which is about 10% lower than where it was in March of 2023. So really, over the past year, it's gained about 10%, which is still really good. However, it's starting to trend downward, relatively flat, but really trending downward a little bit from March of 2023 up until the current day. If we look at the Prime collection box, this one is actually doing extremely well. This one was an Amazon exclusive. It's been flat for the last few months, but for the most part, if you look at just its growth pattern over the past year, it's just consistently moving in the upward direction. In October of 2022, it was down to $65.42. It's gained about 25% over the past year. You can see relatively flat from November of 2022 all the way up until July of 2023, and then saw some nice bumps after that, sitting at $80.18 currently, which is just off of its 1-year high of $81.13. The giant Pikachu box, this is the Pikachu figure collection box. This one is very interesting because this is a giant pain for people to ship. Sometimes the Pikachu inside will crack or break. It's also very heavy, very bulky, so it's very expensive to ship. But this product in general starting to trend downward a little bit. In January of 2023, it was sitting at that 1-year low of $58.82. It gained about 20% over the next 4 months or so. In March of 2023, it was sitting at $69.14 as a 1-year high, then started going down, hit about $66, relatively flat for the next few months, and then dropped even further, sitting at $64.54. So another product that lost about 10% of what it gained over the past 5 months. So relatively flat, but ultimately trending in the downward direction a little bit. Here's the V Memories box. This is an interesting box because it was exclusive to GameStop, right? You could only get this at GameStop, which a lot of people thought, okay, well, this one's going to be really good because you can't get it from your local game store or anything like that. However, unfortunately, a lot of local game stores did things that they shouldn't have done, and they went out and they bought product from retail stores so that way they could stock their shelves with them, which is, don't do that. Like, that's just not right, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. October of 2022, this one was sitting at a 1-year high of $59.22, relatively flat for a couple of months, and then the bottom just fell out. It ended up dropping close to 10% in March of 2023. It hit $56.79. Not a whole lot of movement overall. Jumped up a couple of dollars in June of 2023 and then lost that back. It's sitting at $54.30 currently, or it's sitting at $54. I think it's actually sitting at like $58. The market price is not lining up, and this is the problem with TCG Player. The market price does not line up. There's just sometimes issues with their graphing system. It's actually sitting at about $57.50 right now, right in between its 1-year high and 1-year low. So that just goes and tells you that it's relatively flat for basically the past year. Here's the collector's chest. This one was a little bit delayed when it originally came out. If you remember, there were some packaging issues. Target did have theirs out right away on release. However, all the other ones pretty much got held back because there was some packaging issues with the tins. So this one started out being scalped pretty highly, and then once all the other ones got released, really started coming down in price. But you can see very strong growth pattern from October of 2022 all the way up until April of 2023. That's where it hit its 1-year high of $43.27, about 20% higher than where it was in October. But then again, just fell out. It just dropped like crazy. In June of 2023, it dropped down to $36.14, so it's lost basically everything that it gained, and then started to go up again, and then fell back down. It's sitting at $39.20, so again, another situation where it's gained about 10% over the past year, but very inconsistent all over the place. Here's the Pikachu V Union box. This is not the playmat box, which is more of an exclusive, a little bit more of a rare product. This is just the normal Pikachu V Union box. In January of 2023, this one was sitting at $27.18. Really strong growth, jumping all the way up to $41.31 in June of 2023. So that's a huge gain right there. Basically 50-60% of growth right there. And then it did end up losing quite a bit of that back. It's sitting at $34.05 currently. So it lost about $7. It's right in between its 1-year high and 1-year low. Here's the Zacian Pin Collection box. This one in January of 2023 was sitting at a one-year low of $33.67. Again, gained about 20% over the next few months. You can see in March of 2023, it did hit that one-year high of $38.54, but then fell back down, lost about 10% right back. Now it's sitting at $36.56, so about 10% higher from where it was in its one-year low, but relatively flat over the past 4 or 5 months and trending in the downward direction. Here's the Lance's Charizard V-Box, this one in the Dark Sylveon box. Very, very funny because a lot of times they keep getting stocked, even though we were told a year and a half ago now that Celebrations was being twilighted and sunsetted and wasn't going to be available for order anymore. But I think Pokemon was basically just meaning on the Pokemon Center website, even though they did release it on the Pokemon Center website a couple of times, but harder to find, right? But I think Pokemon just had a lot of extras available, a lot of them in the warehouse. There's distribution centers that kind of sold some back, or maybe traded some in, or maybe some online stores that traded some back in because there was just too many that they couldn't handle anymore. In January of 2023, this was sitting at a one-year high of $39 and then dropped in January of 2023 all the way down to $32.51. So basically hitting its one-year high and one-year low in about a month stretch there. But just because more and more product keeps hitting the shelves, you have these pretty big swings on the Charizard V. It's just not a stable product at all. In March of 2023, it jumped back up to about 37, and then in June of 2023, it fell back down to about 32. Relatively flat, still much closer to its one-year low than its one-year high currently, sitting at $33.93. The Dragga PUL Prime was doing extremely well. This is the collection box that has a little binder inside. It's a little bit heavy to ship. However, over the past 3 or 4 months now, it's been trending in the downward direction. So this is a $15 MSRP box, but it is very expensive to ship because it does go over a pound. In December of 2022, it was sitting at a one-year low of $18.46, but really strong, consistent growth pretty much through the majority of 2023, all the way up until July, where it hit that one-year high of $27.47. Again, it's lost about 10%, still doing much better than where it was in December of 2022, January of 2023, but sitting at $24.91 currently, so trending in that downward direction. Again, as more product gets released on the shelves, the booster packs are going to go all over the place. It's going to be extremely unstable because more and more product is being cracked open to sell maybe the booster packs inside or do streams and breaks and things like that. So you have a lot of big ups and downs when it comes to these booster packs right here. In March of 2023, this was sitting at a one-year high of $7.42. In October of 2022, it was sitting at a one-year low of $5.53. So you have about a 20% difference there between the one-year high and one-year low, but keeps going up and down all over the place. It has been relatively flat now. Basically, since June of 2023, you only see about a difference of $6.50 down to about $5.77, which is where it's currently sitting right now. But you definitely don't see that consistent growth pattern that we saw on a couple of other products here. Here's the Golden Mew. There's just a couple of singles that we're going to talk about because the majority of singles in Celebrations are extremely cheap because of those strong pull rates and the amount of product that has been opened. The Golden Mew, despite being a very, very competitive card with that mysterious tail, has been trending downward over the past 5-6 months now. In March of 2023, it was right at a one-year high of $39.99. It's lost about $14 over the past 6 months. You can see in September of 2023, hit that one-year low of $25.86. It's gained a little bit back, but still just sitting at $26.55 and continuing to trend in that downward direction. And here's the Charizard from Celebrations, which was doing extremely well, trending up to about that $90 mark. You can see in August of 2023, it hit $88.08. So basically gaining about $10, about $15 over the course of a year, about 20%, doing extremely well. But it lost all of that in the span of just a couple of months. Dropped all the way down to $64.28 in September. It's gained a little bit of that back, about 10% of it back, but still lower right now than where it was at the beginning of 2023, which is also very interesting to kind of look at and gives you an idea of how much product is actually out there, has been opened, and how much product is still in existence for Celebrations. But I like to put that out there. We are 2 years removed from the release of Celebrations. So is it performing the way that you thought it was going to perform? Or maybe it's taking a lot more time, or maybe it just doesn't matter because it was a fun product to open. You knew there was going to be a lot of it available and you're not paying attention to the values. But it's interesting to look at moving forward as we continue, especially with the release of Scarlet and Violet 151, another set that they are probably going to print quite a bit of to look at how performance might be for those singles in the future, for the sealed product in the future and things like that. So hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for the algorithm. My name again is Four Fingered Fanny. Thank you so much just for taking the time to watch. I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Until next time, peace.